it again, Sandy.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
maybe
it's
if
not
I
where I
hit
can
the
call him.
button that says share,
That definitely should help.
let's see. Yeah.
Is that okay as is? If you do your presentation mode? Good.
I'll stop sharing, so,
You know where to find me if you
or
need.
do you want me to leave it
Thanks.
like this, guys?
Yeah, it seems okay.
You
I
okay
would.
with Meredith being
You are on
small?
You are on air now.
Oops.
All right, so. Are we gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance and all that?
Is Meredith running the show?
If she is, this is news to us.
Meredith, can you hear me?
Should I call the meeting to order?
Yes,
I think so.
Okay, it is June 11th, 2024, and this is the Mashpee Board of Sewer Commissioners being held in the Walk White Meeting Room at 16 Great Neck Road North. So good afternoon, everybody, and I am convening the meeting now at 2:04. So we would like to have all of you stand and do a pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
The flag,
of the United States of
United
America,
States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands,
which is stand,
one nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
indivisible,
justice for all.
with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now, as we customarily do, let's have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Thank you. Are there any members of the audience who would like to have a minute to say something at the beginning of the Sewer Commission meeting?
Yes.
Yes, Susan Dangle.
The chair recognizes Susan Dangle.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, and thank you all for having me today. Joe asked me ahead of time what's the name of my presentation for 3 minutes, and it's Wishes for 2024. I'm here today. I am the president of Save Mashpee Wakeby Pond Alliance. I've been before you many times. I'm greeting 2024 with some excitement because our diagnostic pond study has been completed as far as the data is concerned, and we're hopefully going to have a management plan presented to the select board in the spring about where the largest sources of nutrients are coming from that are making Mashpee Wakeby Pond look like pea soup. We're very excited about that. I'm also excited to see a very robust agenda that you have today, and I'm looking forward to hearing the updates of what is coming with regard to the watershed permit and the next phasing and funding of the sewer plan. I know that we have a very big hurdle ahead to get the money approved at town meeting for building the second phase of the sewer, and I want to make sure you're aware that we are a 501c4. We're able to lobby, we're able to do advertising, signage, what have you, and we are staunchly behind phase 2 of the sewer plan, and we stand ready to help in any way we can to educate, and I think it has to start now. Actually, if you look at some of the conversations on social media about the tax bills, the time is now to start peeling back the onion so people understand. I think I've shown you before, this is a picture of the Orleans Blue Pages, and Mashpee had one back in the day, the Mashpee Blue Pages, that really helps residents understand the problem, why our aquifer and our watersheds act like they do, and how water impacts waterways and water bodies. So I'd love to see even a small version of this created, and we can do Zoom calls where we can invite you guys in to answer questions. We can set up events in town to invite residents to come in and meet you as well. So I just wanted to offer that. And lastly, I wanted to touch base with you. I saw you last in October with Kim Comart from Falmouth. The Falmouth Freshwater, Falmouth Pond Coalition and the Water Management Committee of Falmouth have moved ahead in earnest, being driven mainly by Mass TC, to put together a 3-year, very comprehensive urine diversion provisional study. And at the end of 3 years, if the data certifies so, DEP stands ready to declare it a general use alternative septic solution. They received, after he came to see you, they received $80,000 at their November town meeting to get the project really honed in and firmed up. And that water management, our quality management committee in Falmouth is working like crazy on every meeting to work out the details. They already have over 70 interested parties, 6 of whom are from Mashpee. And if that's the case, and they really would like to extend this project to not only Falmouth, but Bourne, Sandwich, and Mashpee, and make it a Upper Cape regional project that would make it more likely to get money from the county, maybe even from the state, to get this going for the 3 years. Last night, their group met, the Water Quality Management Group met, and they are putting forth to the Select Board a $1.8 million request at their May town meeting to fund this study for the Falmouth residents. Included in that, you'll see, I have this, give it to you, you can hand out to everybody. You'll see that they are paying for not only an assessment of the participants' homes for readiness for urine diversion equipment, but they're also providing a stipend for them to retrofit their homes. There's a lot of questions to be asked and answered, and I'd like to spearhead the formation of a task team from Mashpee, from your group, and the wastewater superintendent who's here, and Rodney, Mr. Collins, just to see if this is something that we can fit into our toolbox, certainly not in time for May, but maybe in time for October, and that we could get maybe some targeted places like maybe Wakeby Pond to see if we could get people to make a meaningful contribution. You know, this is in no way to take over from sewering. That's the gold standard, but there are places in town where it's not going to be possible, or it doesn't make sense to do it. So I think this is something that we really should look into. There's a lot of people really behind it, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dangle. Are there any other people who are looking forward to speak in front of the commission?
None?
Okay, excellent. As we move forward, can we have a discussion or approval of the minutes from the last meeting from December 14th?
Madam Chairman, I have read the minutes and find that they are in compliance with what we said. I move they be approved.
I second.
Thank you, both of you, Mr. Towle and Mr. Lyons, and thank you, Susan Donovan, for putting them together for us.
You're welcome.
The next item of business that you have on the agenda is one that I'm very excited about as we introduce our brand new Mashpee wastewater superintendent, Mr. Jared Nader. So Jared, I can't really see you, but I understand that you're there, and we would love it if you will come forward and be able to share some remarks to us about you, and a heartfelt welcome from all of us.
You can stay seated. He's going to stay seated in your chair.
I mean,
He can sit anywhere he wants.
see.
Want me to go up where
He can be seen.
Yeah, we're seen up here. No problem.
Meredith can't see you. The camera's here.
I can see him now.
You can?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Hi, I'm Jared Nieder. As Mark Meredith said, I'm pretty new here. I come from the Vineyard. I was on there most of my life, grew, born, raised, left many years in the military. Was in law enforcement, and then decided after being in Iraq 2 tours that wasn't the line of work I wanted to be in anymore. And I happened to see an opening for wastewater, and I said, town job, insurance, I'm gonna try it out. And little did I know, it was something I fell in love with. My approach to wastewater, I like to do things in a common sense way, and I like to do things efficiently. I use the military way of doing things where if I was to die tomorrow, can it be picked up and carried on? I don't believe putting all your eggs in one basket. I'm big on policy driven, make policies, create policies, write everything down so that the next person can pick it up and continue on seamlessly. I always I'm empathetic, and I look at the taxpayers' views on everything. One of the reasons why I left the vineyard was due with innovative alternative septic system. My septic failed. I was in a watershed, and it ended up being an $80,000 job. And to have my IA installed, I determined that 1/5 of my mortgage was not worth keeping the house with the septic, so I sold it as is, moved to the Cape, and moved to Centerville. With that being said, I do believe IAs have a place, especially with all the regulations that come down. But I just believe there's ways that it can be done more efficient, because the one thing I fear is in 20 years, after we mandate all these things, in 20 years we get a new set of regulations that DEP says something didn't work, and we're going to invest all this money again and do it all over again from scratch. And a lot of that doesn't come from the technologies. The technologies are great. It's the people, the cost to operate them, all those little overheads nobody talks about. I find in most places, everybody looks at the big picture, and I always use the analogy, this is a Broadway show. And everybody's looking at the billboard and signs and the names on the signs, and I'm the guy on the stage trying to figure out, set it up and make it work every single day and be cost effective. So I'm always looking for outside the box ideas. I never believe in the word no. There's always a path to yes. And I look forward to bringing that here and, seeing, I was amazed when I got here, the fact that my seat was vacant for a while and nobody was really doing this type of stuff, and yet this town, through all the different departments, Evan and the planning board and everything, just kept the project going forward. So it's a definite commitment, which is really refreshing. You don't feel like you're going in there and running against brick walls all day long. It seems like everybody's going the same direction. So I'm really excited and looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions for the leader? We thought you'd get off the hook, Jared, but you're not.
No questions? Excellent.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed our conversations in the past because Jared's got a tough job cut out for him, and he jumped in with both feet. And again, we welcome him and we'll help him to realize the best success that's possible. So if we move into the next, and if any of you who are there in the audience, please keep me on track and let me know if I'm not observing people who want to speak. But anyway, the next thing we want to cover is the state revolving loan approval and what it means moving forward in the next sewer plant project plans. Jared, were you going to address this for us?
I think GHD was going to take care, when I talked to Anastasia, she said they were going to take care of a lot of the information on here for us.
I can, oh good, it does work. I can, this is Sandy Tripp from GHD. I can give you some broad background if that is what you would like, and can certainly come back with and I think it would be beneficial for Weston Sampson GHD to come up with the path forward and something that's written down that we can share with both Town Hall and you. Maybe at the next meeting, we'll talk with Rodney. But the project, the Phase 2 project, is what's on called the IUP, or Intended Use Plan, with the DEP. That's basically, and you're pretty high up too, so it was a well-rated project, well-positioned to receive funding. It's a draft IUP. They send this out at the end of the year so that people understand if they're in or out. Your chances of being on the final IUP are very, very, very good. Like, I would say 99% chance that you're going to be on the final IUP. But this is a draft, and that means that the project has been deemed worthy of funding. So congratulations. The next steps that come, you'll be on, and somewhere in January, February timeframe, they'll put out the final list, so you know for sure. You're going to be going for appropriations for the money, and then we in Weston and Sampson will help guide you through the steps it needs to position yourself for that loan.
Cindy, what's the time frame for that? You said January or February is when we would know whether that was going to occur.
For the
You
final.
know, whether we're approved? And then from that point, what then will GHD and Weston and Sampson be doing, and by when?
Well, in addition to progressing the design of Phase 2, I think the biggest step next for the town is to appropriate the funds.
So that would be for the May meeting.
That'll be for the May meeting. And again, I would like to come back with something written down so that if it slips over your head, you've got it in front of you for the steps necessary to get yourself through this design phase and into the construction phase.
Thank you very much, and thanks for stepping in. Would the third question then be appropriate for you to address too, which is the status of the design for the next 1,288 properties? Is that what you were mentioning about we'll move forward with that, with the appropriations in May?
Was the question that to address the status of the
I'm
design?
sorry. The next question on the agenda is the status of the funded design for the 1,288 properties. Because our understanding was that funding was to be appropriated for the design, and that the design will then move forward. It may be a redundant question if you want to address it.
The design for the Phase 2, the town currently has our draft contract. It's been reviewed by Weston and Sampson, your OPM, and I believe that they are going to take this to Rodney. And it's been through town council. Town council had a couple of comments on it. We've responded. So it's in with you right now. And we're
Wonderful.
raring to go.
You put that together pretty fast. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. We're very fortunate with the teams of people that we have working with us together on this enormous project as we move forward. So I'm sorry, Sandy, but you can't sit down yet, because now the next item on the agenda would be for the construction update, if you don't mind.
Not at all.
Thank
Okay,
you.
let me go back to sharing my screen.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so, and what I'd like to do in the future is present the status of the construction at your first meeting of the month rather than your second meeting of the month. It's going to be more timely. I'll be reporting on things that are more current, not 2 weeks old or 3 weeks old. So looking at the Phase 1 construction project, sorry. Starting with the water treatment plant itself, and looking at the last month, which basically is through the holidays. The contractor did take the holiday week off, so this is a short month for them. They are primarily moving their work inside, which makes sense because the weather's becoming more inclement. So they've been working on the exterior of the buildings and also starting on the equipments. So for the process building, this is a picture of the process building today. 4 weeks ago, we had plywood up, and we were putting the roof up. So now the roof's in, started on the siding, and they've even begun the trim work. They're not done with it yet, obviously, but it's progressed nicely. And it's, oops. Wow. Inside, you can see that some of these are not actually windows on your right-hand side. Those are what are called translucent panels. They're removable. So this happens to be the chemical room, or no, this is the UV room where you might want to take some equipment out. So you can remove these panels and slide your equipment out. They also allow light in, and they're large. And that often the plants will not even turn on the lights, and you can save some energy on a good sunny day by not having to turn on your lights. You get enough daylight through these panels. On the left side are some of the chemical tanks that are being placed inside of the chemical room of the process building. They're not installed yet, but they're getting ready to start installing some of the equipment that's on site. The preliminary treatment building is further along. On the right, down in the lower picture, you see what the building looked like a month ago, pretty much where the process building is now. It's got some insulation up, a roof, and they were beginning to trim. Now we've got the siding complete, the roof is complete, the trim work's complete. Windows aren't in yet, and the doors aren't in, and honestly, I don't plan to see those doors until the end of the project. They can get beat up if you put the doors in now with the workers coming through with the dirty gloves and the dirty hands and equipment banging through them. So they tend to put up plywood doors, and then at the very end put in your nice finished doors. So that building is quite far along. And last month they had put up insulation in the ceiling, and now you see that we have FRP. That is a FRP, fiberglass reinforced plastic plywood ceiling. What that does is protect the area, the ceiling, and the infrastructure above, or the building above it, from the corrosive nature of raw wastewater, because you've got raw wastewater running in open channels through this building. And they're starting to install the headworks, or the initial treatment processes, which in this case include fine screens, both, they're very fine screens, but there's fine and very fine, to remove some of the grit. And there's a grit removal, and then you got a grit classifier going in. So this is the equipment that arrived a month or two ago, I think 2 months ago, and now they're beginning to install it. For the collection system, like last month, there wasn't any work done on the north side. That's all piping in the ground, and it was all pretty much put in previously. So no major work. I don't think they did anything on the north project during the last period. And they don't plan anything other than maybe some paving here and there in the next period. When it gets to the spring, then they're going to go back in and do some final pavement. For the south, and this includes the pump station, as you know, they've been on Quiniquisette, and they're still on Quiniquisette, probably be on it for another 3 weeks, doing pipe testing, some pavement, and even some manhole cover installations. They'll probably be there for the next 3 weeks on that avenue. Falmouth Road Pump Station. The outside looks pretty much like it did a month ago, but they've been working on the siding and roofing. They're beginning to go inside with their electrical work, and they've got their interior painting scheduled for a couple of weeks from now. This contractor has chosen to start their work with Falmouth Road Pump Station, and that trade or those crews will then go to Mashpee Neck. So electrician is going to be here. If they're not here now, they'll be here next week. And then they're going to, when they're done with Falmouth Road, they'll move on to Mashpee Neck. So here's this pump station. So this pump station will be lagging the other one by, depending how long each trade is in there, by 2 or 3 weeks. Cash flow in progress. This is the plant job snapshot. We're about 58% into the time expended, so we're more than halfway through the job. This is a little over a 2-year project. The percent value earned is 45%. They haven't started getting the big equipment in. That's going to raise that percentage. But you can also see that they are behind their cash flow on this job. So the pink is what we would expect them to be spending, or what they plan to spend. And the white is what actually is being spent. The north system, as you can see, as you know, they were trending way above their planned spending for much of the job. They finished, so now they flattened out. They're not doing any work. So that pink line is converging with the white line. And as they finish up their roads, then the two will finish out together, maybe early, but that's fine. We like a job to be done early, right? And for the south project, which has the pump station, you can see that, again, you knew that before they were behind, and now they are tracking ahead of schedule. They're getting on those pump stations and getting that work done. Plus, they put a lot of, in the last 6 months, been putting a lot of effort into the collection system itself. So they are 71% complete with 50, as far as the value of the work they've earned, and then the percent time, again, is about 57, 58%. Is there any questions?
I have a question. I've noticed that there's a billboard on Route 28 over by the nursing home, and it tells you to expect construction to start. It used to be January 8th, and then the date changed to January 15th. This would be the construction on Orchard Road. Do you know why the date was changed?
Why the date was changed from the 8th to the 15th?
Yes.
Nothing other than
Weather.
that happens. Do you know?
Weather's
The weather.
The weather. Okay.
delayed the whole construction project. They were flooded out and they couldn't dig trenches
Yeah.
and safely enter them.
Yeah, future work, they do their best. It's not always precise until they show up, and we try to make sure that, obviously, they delayed a week, so they said, well, we're going to tell everybody we're delayed a week.
Sandy, how does when we're looking at the sewer treatment plant itself, the lead time for equipment coming in, is that holding, or is that starting to stretch? Equipment at the sewer treatment plant,
Processing equipment.
processing equipment.
From what I've been told, the process equipment is per schedule. The electrical gear is a little late. As I've mentioned before, there is a delay. I'm not ready at this time to say how long, but it is delayed a bit.
Okay, I have a question for you, Sandy. Would it be safe to say that you're at this point on time and relatively on budget?
On budget, yes, the collection systems are ahead of schedule, I would say. The treatment plant is not on schedule.
Okay. Can you, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but can you give us any sort of a projection in terms of completion and when we would be operational?
I'm not prepared to tell you that at this time.
Okay. And that's when Jared will be really working hard when that happens, I assume.
Jared is involved with these discussions, as is Mr. Collins.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, we have another question that's a little thorny, and I'm not quite sure who would be answering it. But the question is primarily how can we project how close? So we heard the answer from Sandy Tripp from GHD that we don't know when we'll be yet operational. But have we been able to project that with this first 439 houses, and then potentially with the next 1288, how close we might be toward our goal of nitrogen reduction?
That, I think Anastasia would have to, I think it's a bigger.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a much more in-depth, something we're going to have to really look at. I have to pin down Anastasia and Mark probably and get them to.
For the future,
Yeah,
yeah.
for the future, break it out. I can have that by the next meeting.
One caution on that, What we will be by the next meeting is in a little bit better position to make a little better guess. This is going to be a 15-year process. We have no idea when we can get to 75%. And there's no way for any engineer or anybody else in this room to start putting that on the table because it's a guess beyond calibration. And it's irresponsible to talk about it that way. We are making a progression as rapidly as we can, depending on how much money gets approved. Every year, we'll be going back to the town, asking for more money, which will allow the engineering group to give us more plans, which will allow the construction group to open up more portals for sourcing the nitrogen. So we gotta back off from the idea that we know when we're gonna get to 75%. That's why the state has given everybody 20 years to get to that point, because it's incalculable right now.
So my question to you then, Joe, would be, then what would be the appropriate question to ask and to answer in order to help us move forward?
Well, the appropriate question is, how soon can we start processing the fluids from 439 units? That's the first question. And the second question would be, how soon can we start processing the additional 1,300 for a total of 1,730? Those two questions we can work on answers.
Great, then perhaps that will be what we formulate as a question to be presenting or to be discussing for our next meeting. Because although things are moving forward, as we can say, and thank you to those of you who are working so hard to make this happen, but we're going to have to start planning on where our next direction is going to be.
You have to stay ahead of it, yes.
Yeah.
Does anyone want to address that as a question or as an answer or as a discussion?
So what's the question?
Can you repeat the exact question? Sorry, Meredith.
Yeah, my question is, I think we begin to get a little bit antsy in knowing where we're going and making sure that we're on the right track. And so we're looking to putting our heads together to come up with the next thoughts of where the next plan would be. So we've got the first step with the 439, as Joe said, the next step with the 1288 beyond that, then where would your, this would be, I'm not asking for a definitive answer, I'm asking for, so then where would we be going next?
That's in the project, the notice of project change study that GHD has been working on with the town is being finalized, and that would have the plan, which is really like, when are we going to have the plan? And I hope within 2 weeks, but we have to run it by Jared and Town Hall, make sure that, and I think he wants to run it by the Board of Selectmen too.
Yes.
So, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
It's a bit of a
and
vague
again, I'm
answer.
not looking to put anyone on the spot. I'm looking for us to be thinking forward
Yep.
and be moving forward and what the plan for moving forward is. And yes, that does answer the question, and I thank you for that.
Okay.
Thank you. So the next question would be discussion of the watershed plan. And it kind of goes along with the one after that, in that we do know that there are intermunicipal agreements that have come on board since our last meeting that involve both Walkpoint Bay and Papaneset Bay, and if there's someone who could address both of those with the watershed plan and also with the IMAs and what they mean for the project as we move forward.
So yesterday, we had both watershed meetings. Now, this is where my geography is still learning the area I moved into. So Pompanesset Bay, that's the one that involves Barnstable. And Barnstable already has their approved plan to the DEP, so they're going to do their own thing, and we're just going to mirror the agreement off of their plan and coincide. Our second meeting was with Falmouth. And again, both of us, we don't have the IMA actually signed yet. Everybody's just working out the devil in the details, who's responsible for what and how much. Some minor logistical questions, but it pretty much seems like everything's moving forward, and it sounds like we're going to have real soon a final document to be finalized. But yeah, we had both meetings yesterday, and it was Pompanesett, I believe, is where Barnstable's doing their own. I'm learning this whole Sandwich. No, so Sandwich, it looks like, because their contribution's so small, they're more or less in this whole process going, how much money do we got to pay and who do we pay it to? They sound like their hope is to go forward Joint Base Cape Cod, and the plans that are being brought forward there, nothing's been signed yet there again. At the meeting, we decided as far as Mashpee goes, as far as writing a letter of support or anything like that, we just feel right now it's still premature. It's still sitting at the state level, determining what's going to be done. So once we get more answers, then we'll decide which way we want to go. We had a meeting with Shoestring Bay, questions about Katuitt and possible sewer options. Again, it was one of those, it's still early, but let's start talking about it now and work out those details and find that path to yes. So there's several options there we're looking at as well.
The question that I have about that, Jared, then is, where does this put us in terms of an overall watershed agreement? The watershed permit agreement that we were talking about, that the town had 2 years to decide if it was going to go in that direction. Are these related? Are we moving in that direction? Or what is the relationship between what you just said and the watershed permit?
I'm not exactly sure what the definitive, I'm catching, I attended my second meeting yesterday for Pompanesett, my first meeting for the other one. and so it was that one I was more, still trying to get caught up on. The feeling I was getting in the room is there will be a watershed permit specifically. It's just, again, working out those details and getting ready to submit the application.
That might be part of what's presented
In 2 weeks?
in 2 weeks. We
Yeah,
can help.
because the Anastasia was there at the meeting and she said something about it. So I think it's also going to be presented in 2 weeks.
Would it be appropriate to then ask for an update, just a progress report on what was just said and where we are with the watershed plan, whether it got done or no, it didn't get done for the next meeting?
Yes, absolutely. I actually just got all the minutes from yesterday's meeting today, so I can go through and dissect that and then put that in a better format for everybody.
Fantastic. You've got your work cut out for you.
Oh, yes. I've been behind that computer for the last 3 weeks, and whew.
But you know that we're behind you, and we're behind you and beside you to help you to be as successful as you can possibly be. It's a huge project, and we're excited that you're here, and I'll say that 100 times.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
The next item on the agenda is an update on the sewer construction rules and regulations. And again, Jared, I'm sorry, I'll call you back up to the podium because, as you all recall, we approved the rules and regulations, the sewer construction rules and regulations, I think it was last August. And Jared has been looking these over and has some suggestions and some need for us to take another look. So I'm going to turn that back over to you.
All right, thank you. So yes, one of the first things I looked at, I noticed that Mashpee, not that it was wrong, it's what everybody does. There's a set of regulations out there that kind of everybody just adopts, and then the next town adopts it, and the next town adopts it. And we had the same thing in Tisbury. So what I'm trying to do is I've been trying to update the regulations a little bit more detailed. They're very vaguely written, and I found in my first superintendent job, vaguely written policies and stuff wrote into, oh, we say yes to you, no to you, why? I don't know. What's the reason? So I've been making a point to get more specific in these regulations and also expand upon them. Things like, that's always neglected is an I&I program, inflow and infiltration, and how to, stay on top of that, not wait till your system is so degraded that you now are mandated to do this. We should be doing it in the beginning so we can get a longer life out of the equipment and the system. So implementing things like that, a policy on how we're going to, do our billing. That's one that I'm really diving into because there's an idea. Talk to you about it. All right. I talked to the water commissioner, and there's been a plan out there. There was some issues I foresee, but nothing again that is stopping us. So I'm just trying to put it in writing. This is how we're going to do it. I like to prepare so that if I, like I said, drop off the earth tomorrow, the next guy could pick it up and go, oh, crap, I got a billing cycle come up. How do I do it? Also with that, I want to go, last meeting we talked about the commissioners' policies and regulations. So in this whole process, I started talking about the enterprise fund with Don up in finance. And so I put together an article to go forward this year to establish the wastewater department's enterprise fund. It's going in the warrant for this year. If approved, it won't actually take effect until 2025. We want to get it at least.
I think we need to do kind of both at the same time. I don't think all of us are aware of what the enterprise fund is. Can you clarify that, please?
So the enterprise fund is a financial mechanism that is established where instead of the wastewater department operating off tax dollars, every time we want to do something, buy something, we have to go to town meeting and basically scare the people that we're raising your taxes. Where the enterprise fund allows us to, everything we bill out, we collect and we keep that within the department. It can't be spent anywhere else in the town. It can't go to fund a new position over Parks and Recreation. It stays within the department. But it also does, it's beneficial to the town in the sense that because you're an enterprise fund, I have to pay for the services that I use the town. So I'm like a town entity, separate but within the town. Yeah, separate business. So it allows us to collect profits. We can, budget for a surplus if we want to, if we're planning for a future project. Capital surplus.
Reserve.
Just a small note, there is no such thing as profit. That's not in your vocabulary.
Okay.
It's not profit.
Retained earnings.
Yes.
We're allowed to have retained earnings. And the state is very, they control that a lot. Because like you just said, we don't make profits. So any revenues that we generate that are in excess of, we have to earmark for a project, whether it be future planning, future building, buy equipment. Capital reserves, we can put it in a reserve fund. We have to do something with it. It also limits how we do that. If we make too much money, we get audited, and we have to justify why we made too much money. And vice versa, if we make too little money, 20% I believe is the rule, plus or minus 20%, you have to justify that. So it doesn't just give you a free, go at it, but it does give us a little bit of freedom as far as what we generate, we keep. That's beneficial to the town because it allows us to, if we have staffing, if we want to increase staff, or if we need equipment, we usually can buy it with that retained earnings and not affect the tax roll at all. So a lot of people find it, every town meeting I go to, hey, I need a new truck. I got the money in my retained earnings. Yep, you can have it. So it's usually not a big deal. But with that, the commissioners, there is like I said, a mass general law that basically outlines how you operate, so how you can control that money and how you can use that money. So that'll be in the next article I'm putting forward. So I'll build it both ways. I'll use the old ones that I had found, which I do have a copy here for anybody that, I only had one copy, so it's over there on my desk. But I can hand it around to the commissioner so you can kind of look through it and see what we had in the past. But yeah, right now, like I said, this is the document I'm putting together. So far, I'm at 70 pages. So got a little bit more ways to go, but I think in the end, it's going to be a better document. I think it'll also assist future commissioners when they come in there. They kind of know the left and right laterals of everything we're doing and how they can make their decisions.
Great, thank you. I I think that this is very helpful because we had we didn't put on the agenda, but I think that Susan was preparing for you to take a look at for the next meeting the planned ideas for a document for new commissioners or for a reference for commissioners on board. And so this is what Jared was referring to, that he's kind of working on what was already written in the past, but he's also building on what we would need to build on for the future, because we do have an opening on the sewer commission right now. And as all of the commissioners have felt as they've come on board, at least the newer ones, they have always felt, well, what am I supposed to be reading and what do I need to do and what's my role, what are my responsibilities, what are all the issues about open meeting law and the things that we're being held to, and to realize that we're a regulatory body, we're not an advisory body. So looking at what our roles are, what our responsibilities are, and I'm glad to see that Jared has found this old document that we didn't even know existed. So we'll be moving forward with that. So you can see that we've got quite a bit of work cut out for us as we move forward in our next meeting. The last item on the agenda is about website revision and review. And in talking with Karen Leslie, who in the planning department, who also works with the wastewater department, where there have been no major new revisions, she's making small tweaks in the website. If any of you do have issues or ideas about the website that you'd like to see addressed, looked at, changed, or whatever, please send an email to me and also to Karen Leslie. And Karen Castaneda has also been working on this. So we want to keep making the website user-friendly to have the residents be able to get the information that they need when they need it, so that there are dialogues set up and they don't feel panicked because they don't know what's going on with this huge project. Are there any other comments or questions, either from the commissioners at this point in time? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on, or are you thinking about it?
Meredith, actually, I do have one comment. So I've been fielding a lot of questions from the community. I get the random phone calls, where we're at, what's going on. For the webpage, I've been working on, and we'll be presenting to the commission soon, is some documents. Like I'm doing a list, a property by property list of who has actually been connected, what type of system they have, whether it be gravity or low pressure. I'm getting a lot of those questions. The other thing we want to create is a punch list. I had a person call, single, living in their house, getting retirement age, and has never installed a sewer system before, which I don't think anybody really has. So she wants to know what's the steps. I mean, who do I got to get? What am I responsible for? What's it? So I felt that when we send out the notices to everybody when it's time to tie in, like a literally with little boxes on it. First step, you apply for a permit to tie in. Second step, you need to you can get a contractor, and here's your list. And that way, and she said that was her biggest thing. She had a lot of anxiety thinking about it, and that took away all the anxiety because she knew she could literally go down and check the boxes as she goes. So I'll be putting together a document that we can use as part of the form letter that we send out when it's time to tie in.
Good.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. I am reminded also that there was there was one particular resident that did have a disability that was really in the dark about what was going on, and we need to follow up with some of the people as they're coming on board now to make sure that they don't have major anxiety about what's going on and that their questions are being answered. So this will be very helpful, Jared. Thank you. So there are no other new items or no other old items for business. And with that being the case, may I entertain a motion?
I so move.
I second it.
Thank you. Then our meeting stands adjourned. And thank you very much for your participation. And thank you, Susan Donovan, for putting this together. And I thank you also to Karen Leslie and to Terry Cook for zooming me in. So thank you all. And thank you, Sandy, for all your work. And thank you again. Please convey our thanks to the other engineering consultants.
I do
Thank you
that.
again.
I do. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you too. Sorry, I forgot about it. What can I say? Oh, enjoy.
Yes, I always like,